And I think we're all really quick to judge negatively. Somebody cuts you off in the car, you're really quick to be like, what a jerk, what a bad person. Maybe offering that same place and perspective and coming from love and judgment coming from love as opposed to just being so quick to come from someplace negative. Maybe the person that
Yeah.
cut you off in the car got fired or they're rushing home to a sick kid, you know? Let's come from there instead of coming from hate. So leading from love.
Alexa Mufson, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
We're so excited to have you. For those of you who don't know, Alexa is the founder of Leigh Jewelry. And you've probably seen her jewelry a lot of places. The likes of celebrities like Miranda Kerr and Ashley Tisdale and influencers all over. I feel like the quintessential like statement of the jewelry is your balls that you have on your jewelry, which I feel like have also become increasingly popular. And I've seen other brands do it, but I feel like you were the OG. Like this
Yeah.
was kind of your staple. It's just beautiful everyday jewelry. I love that you made it to be able to work well with moms and people who might not necessarily be able to have things dangling off of them all the time. But it's wonderful. I'm so excited to be able to chat about how you started it and tell us a little bit in your own words, kind of how you introduce yourself and how you got started.
Yes. I usually flounder at this question for some reason, but what I should say is probably that I design jewelry suitable for any lifestyle. Um, I originally started with a fine jewelry line and then a few years later had kids and started kind of stripping off all of that fine jewelry because I was breastfeeding. I was worried that, you know, my child was be yanking on it. I was worried the chain was going to break. You're changing diapers. I was worried about my beautiful fine ring. And it was actually when my husband was introducing me at an event and was like, she's a jewelry designer, but she doesn't wear any jewelry because I didn't have any on. That I was like, this is kind of silly. Um, so I shifted and the shift. Look at
There we go.
that.
I love when people say that by
Uh,
accident.
and started creating jewelry that was more suitable for my lifestyle. And I still wanted it to be durable. I didn't want it to be cheap. I wanted to be able to put it on and keep it on and feel good about it. But it needed to have a little stretch. It needed to be probably a little bit of a cheaper price point. And hence the fall collection, which was created so that I could do bath time, bedtime, play with my kids, let them pull on it, and also go to dinner and still feel good about what I was wearing.
Yeah.
Kind of how it all started. Yeah.
I think the before part of it, though, was also really interesting. I was reading some articles about how you started, and you were working at Bandier actually, right? Before, and then this idea kind of came about, and then you built this business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Because you have to go back a little bit further. Actually, the I will try. It's a long story, but I will try to give you the abridged version.
Yeah, let's
I
hear it.
from out of college, I was in ad sales and pretty miserable, unfortunately, and trying to have some kind of creative outlet. I was always super creative, loved to draw, things like that. And it was when I lost a necklace, and my father recommended that I make it. And he said it so kind of casually that I was like, yeah, sure. Right now, I'm just like, I'll make it. Fast forward, I'm in my apartment with a hot glue gun and trying to melt a bottle cap. And it was what I ended up making with nothing that anyone would want to wear. Um, so during my lunch break, I started going to the Diamond District in New York. I don't know. I mean, I think I was really operating out of desperation because I just really needed something else in my life. Because it's so out of character for me to just be knocking on random people's doors and asking them to help me create my vision. So I started there and launched the started making designs. The collection kind of evolved. I was wearing things for myself and really selling to like friends and family. Um, and then wanted to devote more time to it besides just like my lunch break. Um, and ended up getting a couple of jobs, one being at Bandier, and they allowed me to have this jewelry line on the side and also work there. And I really loved working there. And it was a hard decision when I really finally had to commit. I had a baby, I was pregnant, and I really needed to like, I could only have so many jobs, I think.
Yeah.
um, yeah. But I learned a lot about at Van Deer and I was able to apply that to my own business as well. So, I think all these stepping stones, um, they're all really stepping stones, and one
Yeah.
closed door is like another is an open window and you can learn from every experience. Yeah.
When did you see Alexa Lee, like, really take off?
I think it was really with the bowl collection that I started to gain a lot of traction. I was doing it all myself, shipping everything myself, all the customer service, everything was myself. And then recruited my sister who was also working at another job, but I needed just like an extra set of hands. So like late night, we would be packing and shipping. And it was around the time that I was like, this is like a full time thing. This isn't just like a nighttime gig anymore.
Yeah. So cool. Okay, getting to the question of the show. I'm so excited to hear your answer. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
I've been thinking a lot about this question because I do love a lot of the typical, I don't know if I should say typical, but I like a lot of the cliches that are out there. But I wanted to offer something that I felt was super impactful in my life and kind of has stood the test of time. And that is, it's not about making the right decision. It's about making right with the decision you make.
I
Bit
love
of a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Let that marinate for a second. And, it's those times that maybe there's not necessarily a right or wrong choice. And it's more about just choosing a path forward, finding peace with that in your heart, and also really going for it, you know, not having any kind of regret or wondering if, or, half-assing it, but really just choosing a path forward and then really giving it your all.
I love that. I feel like that decision anxiety is what prevents so many of us from ever doing anything. We basically
Totally.
just spend our entire lives wondering if we're going to make the right decision that we end up not making a decision at all. And at a certain point, like you're saying, there is no right or wrong decision. It's just whichever one you decide to go into 100% and commit 100% of your effort to.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. Have there been specific times in your life where you've referenced that advice or where that advice has been why you felt confident making a decision?
Well, I mean, I think that it's come up for me from time to time, uh, for a long time. I'm usually pretty clear on my convictions or like I'm pretty good about going with my gut. But the first time I got the advice, which like feels so irrelevant now, but I'm still gonna share it because I think it's a good um example, is when I was deciding which college to go to, which I recognize is a lifetime ago. But
Hey,
you,
I wouldn't know it. I wouldn't know it.
okay,
Based on how you look in front of me, I would not know it.
it's the first major decision that you're making. You feel like it's going to affect the rest of your life. It
Yeah.
feels very much like there's a right or wrong choice. And I remember just feeling paralyzed by this idea of like, how am I supposed to choose this for myself when it's going to like make or break, you know, the rest of my life?
Yeah.
Um, and there was a lot of noise and a lot of different opinions, my parents' opinion, my friend's opinion, my teacher's opinion. And I was just having a really hard time coming to a clear answer myself, and that was the first time I got that advice, and it really lifted the weight of, like, there was a wrong choice here, and it really freed me up to just feel like I could just choose a path forward, and whatever that choice was, like, it was gonna be okay, and also, um, to kinda just really go for it, and I ended up choosing the college and joining the dance team, and I went to every class, which I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to do, and, like, I wouldn't truly recommend, but I, went for it, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and I use that advice, like, throughout my life, so I think the best advice is advice that can really stand the test of time like that, so
Yeah.
I like it.
I really do love that advice. I mean, I'm just thinking about so many situations in my life, and I'm sure in other people's lives, again, where you just feel like, okay, there's one path that's meant for me and there's one path that's not. And I don't necessarily think it's that cut and dry.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
that
there's like so many
yeah,
roads you can take.
totally, and it can be something as simple as just, like, "This is dumb, but, should I go to the gym or not? Like, I'm so tired. Should I go or should I not go?" And you're, like, tortured by this, like, idea, like, "Should I work?" It's like, it's okay, and if you go, then, like, go for it and give it your all, and if you don't
Yeah.
go, like, don't torture yourself that you didn't go. Like,
Yeah.
just like, get back in bed and, like, enjoy that too, and either way, it's okay. Um,
Yes.
it's all gonna be okay, you know?
Yes. Any of the decisions will be as good as you make your mind up that they will be. So
Exactly. That's a
I
very
love that.
way of saying it.
Do you
Yeah.
have, on the reverse side of that, a worst piece of advice you've ever gotten? Or sometimes people say, like, quotes that they just have never resonated with or mottos that they hear that they don't like.
Think all advice is kind of bad or not necessarily bad, but that it should be taken with a grain of salt. And that really good advice requires perspective. And it's
Mhm.
hard for people to fully put themselves in your shoes. So I really always like to consider the source. At the end of the day, I think that you really know what's best for you. So there's nothing like in particular. I just think all advice, like I said, I I like asking for help. I definitely know what I don't know, and I'm open to hearing other people's opinion. Um, I just also like to make sure that I'm at the end of the day really reflecting on whether or not that makes sense for me, my family, my business, whatever it may be.
Was there any particular advice that for you was just really off the mark when you started having kids or were pregnant?
I was gonna use that as an example. I think, like, especially parenting advice or when people ask me for parenting advice, I'm like, "Best advice I can give you is to not take other people's advice." I, um, parent each one of my children differently, so and I know them very well. How could I possibly give anybody sure, there's overarching things that, like, we should all do, like, be kind and loving,
Yeah.
but each scenario requires a different reaction. There are so many variables, there's so many nuances. Children are so different. Family dynamics are so different. I mean, I think it's just really hard to it's that's why it's the hardest job in the world because there nobody really can give you advice.
Yeah.
And every situation requires a different um, reaction and it's hard. Yeah, I don't like parent advice.
Do you still think it's helpful? Because I do see that, like, there's an angle of, like, it's helpful to know what other people have gone through, and sometimes that really does end up helping other people. Like, do you still find that helpful, or do you think it's just so unique that even any sort of commentary is really just
I
not that
feel like
helpful?
yeah, I mean, I think that it's nice knowing that, uh, we're all in the same boat in a lot of ways. You'll see these memes or whatever on Instagram, and you're like, "Oh my god, that is what happened to me this
Yeah,
morning."
that's
You know?
comforting. That's always the best when you're like, "Wait, someone else went through that too?"
Yeah. Yeah, so you're like, "Okay, I'm not the only one." Um, and I'm not listen, don't get me wrong, like, I love listening to, like, Dr. Becky, and I I care very much about my job as a parent or,
Yeah.
I care very much about being a good parent, the most important thing that I do. So I'm not above it. You will catch me listening to plenty of parenting podcasts and things like that. Again, I just try to also, um, you know, take it with a grain of salt. There is no right or wrong answer. And it's important to do what's really best for your children and really respect who they are as individuals and what they require as individuals. So, as long as you're able to do that, I think then it's great to listen and get advice and hear what other people are going through. Just as long as you don't then like use that as like a blanket statement, like truth. This is how you this is how you do it.
If you are listening to this podcast, you are probably a fan of inspirational quotes. And if that's the case, then you should check out my book. I feel that it's a cute little retro book with each chapter being a different emotion and then quotes that can help you with that emotion. So if you're looking to support me or the show, if you need a cute little gift for a friend or just something to flip through when you're feeling down one day, then this book is for you. You can purchase it at quotesbychristy.com, which is my website, or the link will be in the show notes. I would love to know if there's any advice you would give as an entrepreneur, so other side of your many jobs, to other young entrepreneurs, people looking to start their own business like you did who might be shipping things out of their house right now.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of advice you would give them for this point in their journey?
I think it's really important to define what success means to you and not to compare yourself to others and to make sure you're doing it for the right reason. I have found that really important in my own journey, and it's really easy to, especially with social media, compare yourself or your success to someone else when you don't really always have the full story, and that might ultimately not be what your um what your goals are. It
Yeah.
could look really shiny on the outside, but maybe isn't necessarily truly what you want, and that it takes time. Like, keep your head down, keep doing what you're doing. I think it's also really important to play to your strength and make sure you are clearly defined what success means to you and kind of stay laser focused on that.
Does success mean something different to you now than you think it did when you first started?
I think it was probably always the same, but has become more clear to me. So I didn't realize necessarily at the beginning that I didn't want to have 100 employees and this huge business that required me right now, by the way. As in,
Yeah.
this could change, but um, that required me to go into the office every day and be there from sun up till sundown. I have 3 young children, and I feel really grateful that I'm able to have a business, but that I'm also able to drop them off at school and pick them up and be involved in their lives, go to their assemblies, take them to doctor's appointments. By the way, the assemblies and the things are just endless. You know, the
So I've heard.
school re- stuff
Yeah.
involvement is constant,
It's a full-time
and
job in itself.
it's a full-time job in itself. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to do that and be there for all of that.
Yeah.
There's way more and still have a business. So to me, that's success right now. Like I have an awesome team. It's very small. Um, and I like it like that. I think maybe when I was younger, just starting out, that I thought that the only vision of success was like you had to have a big office and a lot of employees, and that meant that you were really successful. Um, there's a lot of big offices with a lot of employees that aren't making any money.
Yeah. Yeah,
They
or with parents that wish they could spend more time with their kids and who aren't super happy, like, I think that is such an accurate statement. There was a chef, Eric Ripert, who came on the show, and he said that when young chefs come to him and, like, ask him, like, "How I wanna build this small restaurant, and I wanna have, like, a couple seats," and he'll be like, "Okay, but what are your, like, actual long-term goals?" And a lot of them always include, like, a family and people that they love, and he's like, "You have to always make sure that your goals align with, like, what you actually want in the future." And I feel like we all kinda base it off of, like, money, and like you said, like, the bigger the business, the better, the more money, the better, and, like, that's not usually the only goal in our minds, but just we kind of get to thinking that it is and ignore everything else, and then
right?
we've built something that we don't actually want.
Oh, exactly. I think it's really interesting. You really do have to take a step back and like this chef said, and say like, what do you really want? Because it's really easy to kind of just plow forward with maybe what you've been told is success,
Yeah, yeah,
or a measure of success. And amen, if that is what you want. It doesn't have to be, you can
yeah,
choose for yourself what it looks like. And it can come in any shape or form, and it can involve a business or not. Um, it can just be being a successful person in life,
yeah,
and just a great parent or whatever, a good
yeah,
friend, a good wife, a good daughter, it
yeah.
have to be this one thing that um maybe we were shown at a young age or something, and like it kind of stuck with us.
I think I think millennials, I think even the coming generation even more so are just realizing that money and it's great and you want it for safety, you want it for security and the security of your family, but it's just, like, not everything. It's not like everything that we thought it was, and there's such thing as, like, a work-life balance
Right.
and having
Yeah.
relationships and nurturing those relationships, and I think it's a beautiful shift. Oh, there, I said it
That's
again. I really do, though. I think it's, like, one of the most beautiful things. This whole, like, working from home culture, I feel like, has made us see that, like, we can have a balance of both. Doesn't have to be 100%, and especially, though, when you're a mother as well as owning a business, you're tapped out at that point.
definitely a lot. I wouldn't have it any other way. I feel really grateful, like I said, to be able to do both. Um, I've been, I've worked for companies too. I've been um, part of a team. Um, And I've seen the other side. I've also worked for, like, not great companies and was required to just be there because you had to clock in and clock out, and having the freedom to be able to choose my own hours, work at the times that I feel like I'm the most efficient. By the way, there's nobody more efficient than mom.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
We should hire moms because we, like, know how to just max out our time and use it
Yeah.
healthfully. So, um I don't know, I'm very grateful, but it took a long time to get here, and like I said, you just have to keep swimming.
Hey, another best piece of advice.
Land
I love
right.
it.
You and you should see, first of all, on my wall, I have quotes and mottos and things that I like. I have a quote book. I know you like your quotes.
Oh,
All day long and go back and forth with, like, to see who taps out first with I like just mantras, go back and forth with mantras.
I love that. Okay, well, that's perfect because it leads into my final question, which is, what's your favorite quote?
Oh, it's hard. It's really hard for me because I do have so many that I rely on and love. But the mantra that I think I shift mantras or quotes depending on, like, what phase I'm in my life.
Yeah.
And the one that I've been relying on for the last couple years, I think, is the mantra or quote, um, "Lead with love." And what I mean by that is I think in a time where there's just I keep talking about social media, but it's a big part of society, and a lot of people exposing themselves and sharing and, like, so much hate in the world, and I think we're all really quick to judge negatively. Somebody cuts you off in the car, you're really quick to be like, "What a jerk, what a bad person." You probably don't probably say something much worse. Um, when my kid yells at me, I don't think or says something that isn't so kind, I don't think to myself, "What a jerk, what a bad person." I think, "Geez, like, I wonder what's going on for them today. Like, did something bad happen in school? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Like, I wonder why they reacted like that." And maybe offering that same place and perspective and coming from love and judgment coming from love as opposed to just being so quick to come from someplace negative. Maybe the person that
Yeah.
cut you off in the car got fired or they're rushing home to a sick kid, you know? Let's like come from there instead of coming from hate or maybe it's
Yeah.
not hate, but like anger or just like being really quick, I think, to go to the negative. So leading from love. It sounds really cheesy, but I go for
No.
it.
No, honestly, I think your explanation of it is, like, the opposite of cheesy. I mean, I've heard clearly, like, those words before, but the way you explained it is really beautiful and so accurate, and honestly, like, my husband and I feel like talk about this all the time, but just the fact that we always assume the worst intentions in people.
Right.
And like you said, the people that we truly love, I feel like we assume the best in, and then it's kind of the strangers, the people we don't know as well, that it's a lot harder for. And I would always hope that people would assume the best intentions in me, but yet
Yeah.
I don't really extend that grace to others as often as I should. And
Somebody
I
like
think
wants to say hi, and I'm like, "Oh, they hate me."
yeah,
You know?
yes,
And
yeah,
or like, maybe they didn't see me, or, like, they're having a
yeah,
bad day, or they were distracted, you know?
yes, yeah. On that same level, it's like, stop assuming that everything is about you. I feel like I have to remind myself about that
Really.
all the time. Like
Yeah.
we're so used to taking things personally. And I feel like once you realize that everyone is just reacting out of their own reality and out of their own circumstances, and 99% of the time it has nothing to do with you, I feel like you just have so much more grace and forgiveness with other people. And what a beautiful world it would be if people did react badly to us and we were like, you know what? You must be having a hard day. I'm so sorry. Instead of reacting just as badly, if not worse, to them.
Exactly, I know, and like you said, I hope that's what I want for people to respond to me, to have that
Yeah.
for me. If I did something wrong, said something wrong, didn't react in the best way, I would love the grace of, like, and not the judgment, and for somebody to think
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I wonder what's going on for her," or like, "She must be having a bad day," or, "Hope she's okay," as opposed to thinking I'm a bad person or whatever it is they may think. So I'm trying. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody else will listen to this and they will lead with from a place of
Hey.
love, and me and you will just change the world one person
Hey.
at a time.
That is usually how things like that start, so I fully believe in that concept, and that is a beautiful sentiment that I think we should all go about using in our everyday lives with everyone we interact with, especially maybe the people that we have the most difficulty with, which is the hardest. So,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you so much, Alexa, for sharing your wisdom. This has been a beautiful conversation. I'm so grateful to have you on. Can you tell us where we can go to follow along with your brand, with you personally, how we can support?
Yes, and I just wanna say thanks for having me. I think you've had some
Of
pretty
course.
awesome guests, so I'm very excited to be part of the lineup. You
Oh,
can
of
find
course.
me, uh, Alexa Leigh, Leigh, on Instagram, alexalee.com if you wanna check out some of the goodies that we're making, and those are pretty much the 2 places.
I love it. Well, thank you again. We're so excited to keep up with all of your beautiful work and
Yeah.
beautiful jewelry. And to everyone listening and watching, don't forget to subscribe, tune into all of our other episodes, and thanks for joining us on the shift.